Good day, everyone. Eric Olsen from Helps Law Firm for Seniors and Disabled Persons, talking today on September 22nd, 2023. Glad to have you here. First, I apologize for Friday. I was at a remote location and the internet went sour, so it wasn't you, it was me. Try not for that to happen again. Okay? So we do this Monday through Thursday, same time, except on Thursday it's 2 hours later. And I'd like to welcome you back. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat feature. My name's Eric. I've been an attorney now for Eric Olsen for 46 years, the founder of Helps. Helps stands for Help Eliminate Legal Problems for Seniors. And what we do specifically is I have two missions. First mission is to protect seniors from debt collector harassment, and we do that under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Law, which was passed in 1978. It provides if you're represented by an attorney, debt collectors can no longer call or send you demand letters anymore. They have to leave you alone. They have to communicate with the attorney. And that's what we do. Seniors find out about us. We talk to them. They enroll in our program. They give us the debts they don't want to pay anymore. Creditors, the collectors, we send a cease and desist letter and they leave you alone. And we represent you ongoing. It's not one time. It's literally forever, so you don't have to deal with collectors again. And you send us the collectors. You can text them, fax them, email them, mail them to us. We need the name, address, and account number. We don't need the balance. We'll send out a cease and desist letter. And under the law, they have to communicate with us and stop bothering you. Now, you could get sued, but we're going to educate you why your income is protected. No one can touch your Social Security. Your retirement is protected under federal and state laws. There was a law passed in 1974 called ERISA, Employment Retirement Income Security Act, that protects almost all pensions. But if your pension isn't protected under ERISA, it's certainly protected under a state law that protects your pension. In 46 years of practice, I've never seen a senior lose a pension because of garnishment. And we're going to explain to you how your money is protected in your bank account, et cetera. And your other assets are as well under state laws. Our second mission is to educate seniors how they can maintain their financial independence. And that's the number one reason we have our YouTube live videos here every Monday through Thursday to answer questions and talk about other things or about what we do. So yeah, appreciate it if you press the like button. You can always subscribe to our channel if you like this. We always ask that you share what Helps does with others. I talk to seniors every day. They're just very thankful they found Helps and wish they would have found us sooner. So the more you can do to share what Helps does with others, the more we appreciate it, because we're out here to help people. That's what we do. And you can put questions in the chat feature, and I should get to them. A lot of you talk amongst yourselves, which I don't mind, obviously, but draw my attention if there's a question so I can get to it, because we want to answer your questions. I'll start off with talking about someone that actually I enrolled this morning with Helps, earlier today. A nice lady from Georgia, widowed, I believe, and she was 77 years old. And she had talked to us earlier this year. She had $40,000 in approximately in unsecured debt. She got, I think, around $1,800 in Social Security and $900 in a pension. She was buying her home. She owed about $140 or $150, and it's worth about $350. And she lived in Georgia. Now, the homestead exemption in Georgia, I think, is like $22,000. So she had some equity in her home over and above the homestead exemption for Georgia. And one thing she's worried about, if she didn't pay this debt and someone sued her, were they going to take her home? And the answer is no. If they did sue her, that could become a lien on the home, but it's not their practice to go after people's homes. They simply don't do it, okay, for a lot of different reasons. Explain to her the option of adding someone's name to the title with her as a joint owner of survivorship rights. That way, if someone got a judgment against her and she passed away, then the property would go to the survivor. But then she also talked about her son who lived back west. Kind of wanted her to come live close to him. And I told her, I said, well, that's not a bad idea. You get older to be close to your family. You might need that. If you had to go to a nursing home, you have someone to visit you. take care of you. And she said, yeah, that's right. And she was thinking about that. I said, if you're going to do that, you might want to do that before someone sues and gets a judgment, because if they got a judgment, you'd have to deal with that as part of the sale price. It'd be a little bit less money you would get. But she had a lot of equity in the home, and she's going to think about that, and she might do that. She had a car, early 2000 car. No one's going to take the car, even if it was a brand new car, free and clear. It's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors to go after people's cars. Now, if you owed money on your car and they had a lien on the car, it was a lender that loaned you the money to buy the car, that'd be a different matter. But if someone gets a judgment against you, and you've got a car that is worth more than what you're allowed to keep in the state where you live, a creditor isn't going to come take your car. They just don't do that for a variety of different reasons. And the other problem she had, which is she had a loan for some home improvement that was done a few years ago. And the way she described it, I wasn't clear if it was a secured or unsecured loan. If it was a secured loan, it didn't sound like they had taken a mortgage or anything. They may have had a UCC lien on it, but told us she may or may not have to deal with that if she goes to sell the home. Probably not, but we'd be able to educate her on that if it became a problem. And in the end, she wanted to know, when do I enroll in HELPS? Do I enroll now? I've stopped paying 3 months ago. I'm getting calls. I haven't got a lot of letters yet. But she did have someone knock on her door and delivered an envelope to her, said that, it was from this home improvement loan, saying they were going to do something unless she called them to make arrangements to make payments. She wasn't served with a lawsuit, but just this notice. And I explained, creditors find a lot of different ways to try to collect from people. They would love to get you to agree to make payments or pay this off without them having to sue you. But even if you did get sued, they're not going to take your home. And then in the end, she decided she wanted to enroll in HELPS. She didn't want to deal with any more phone calls coming through. And so what we did is we got her information. I clicked a button. And when we enroll people in HELPS, we enroll you right over the phone when you're talking to us if you decide you want our help. And we click a button and ask you to open your computer and see if you get an email from us. It's welcome to HELPS. Contains all our contact information, address, phone number, email, and addresses, and gives instructions how to get us the collectors. Okay. So let's see. We got questions here. Pundit and stock market accounts will go after someone's house if it's in default of the brokerage account. Well, I mean, you can always sue someone for anything in the United States. I'm just telling you my experience after 46 years of practice is that, if you've got a mortgage and you don't make the payment, yeah, they can foreclose on the mortgage. Okay. But if you owe a debt, otherwise, and someone were to sue you, they can get a judgment normally becomes a lien on equity you have in the property over and above the exemption in the state where you live. And some states don't even allow that, like Texas, Florida, you pretty much have unlimited exemption. California, it's really high. And different, Kansas, Oklahoma, probably North and South Dakota, a few other states, a few states that may be in the Northeast. And then a lot of states have, exemption laws, larger amounts of money. Nevada, I think it's like 400,000. Washington is quite a bit. California, it's like at least 700,000. But even if you had equity in a home over and above that exemption amount, they're not going to come after your home. So I don't run into too many people who have stock margin accounts that have a problem with someone going after it. Never seen that happen. How do I find out if there's a lien on my property? Well, if you've got a mortgage, there's a lien on your property. And then the only other way there'd be a lien on your property is if maybe you owed some federal taxes or state taxes. They could have filed a tax lien, but you would usually notify that. They would send you notice. I guess the only other way is if someone sued you and got a judgment. Okay, then in most states the judgment automatically becomes a lien on real property. Not not always, but most of the time it does. Um, but it doesn't. Once again, it doesn't mean you're going to lose the property. And like I said, in some states it's not a lien. In some states the lien can be removed, so you can sell the property. So how can you find out? Um, you would know if you've been sued, I guess, if they had a judgment. You can always call and talk to us. The county may not have those the paperwork isn't found in the county property records. See, if you go to sell the home, a title report will be made, and the title report will show if there's a judgment against you in the county where your property is located normally, and that judgment would act as a lien on the real property, if depending on your state law. Okay. Okay. So this person contacts us from Florida. He says, I'm 76, just received a summons to appear from one of my two credit cards. I can't pay either one and can't pay the condo fees. I was in the hospital for rehab for a month, and my only income is Social Security. I have to send a letter within 20 days, but don't know what to write. Lawsuit is from Chase Bank. You probably don't need to do anything. Um, just received a summons. So, I mean, if you've been sued, I mean, if you don't owe the money, you could defend yourself if you want. But if you're a senior and you're getting Social Security or a pension, which is protected, and you're sued and you owe the money, a lot of times you don't need to worry about it. I mean, they can sue and get a judgment, but they can't collect from you. Um, what happens when a helps client is sued? You get us a copy of the lawsuit. We usually need the first 3 or 4 pages, and we're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you, and we're going to let the attorney know that your income is Social Security, pension is protected. Tell them they're not going to do anything. We understand they're going to get a judgment. We're going to call and explain to you how and why your income is protected. One thing I haven't mentioned yet today is there was a law passed in 2012 that instructs banks to automatically protect twice the amount of federal benefits deposited into your bank account from garnishment, regardless of what funds are in there or where they came from. So if you got $1,800 in Social Security each month, that means twice that amount, which would be $3,600 in your bank account in which Social Security is deposited, is automatically protected from garnishment in the event someone would sue you and get a judgment and they try to garnish your bank account. Your bank will do that. Okay? They'll do that automatically. Now, your bank manager doesn't understand the rule, but there's a department of the bank that deals with garnishments. They know the rule. So rest assured, that's what the rule is. They'll protect. Now, if you had other money in there that came from another source, it doesn't matter. All the bank has to do is see how much you got in Social Security or a federal benefit like VA benefit, post office retired worker, they're federal workers, Office of Personnel Management, a federal worker, or railroad employee, that's a federal pension. All they have to do is take that federal benefit times 2. They protect that sum, and they don't pay attention to where the money came from. Actually, that's in the account at the time of a garnishment. So, for that reason, we tell our clients, if you're sued, you just want to have normally one bank account. That's the account to which your Social Security goes, and as long as you keep it less than twice the amount of your federal benefit, if someone were to ever get a judgment and get a garnishment, try to garnish your bank account, your bank is going to protect twice that amount. Now, normally, if you had more than that in there, they could hold up the excess, and you could normally be able to file a challenge of garnishment or claim of exemption to get the excess released. Okay, so here's another one. Here we go. From Tennessee, says, I need help with a payday loan. I have been paying on each month, but it makes me struggle. Well, okay, if you're getting Social Security or pension, if you get protected income and you got a payday loan, You don't need to pay the payday enrollment. You can stop it. Now, what I would worry about is if they had access to your bank account, they might try to dip into your bank account, so you could contact your bank to have it stop any automatic payment. Depending on the type of payday loan, you might even consider changing to a different bank account. You could have the same bank, but a different bank number. Payday loans normally don't sue people. They could, but I don't see them doing that. Once again, it wouldn't matter if they did, and your income, Social Security, and a pension. Sometimes I see people, seniors, getting payday loans on the internet or maybe from an Indian reservation. And in those instances, a payday loan, they can break the law trying to collect from you. In other words, threaten you in such a way that they might scare you, but they really can't do what they threaten. They might threaten you with arrest or something like that. And the reason they have payday loans that are based overseas is you can't sue them if they're located in England or Mexico or Russia, wherever they're located at. And the same thing with Indian reservations. Some federal laws don't apply to payday loans. One of them is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. So often payday loans will set up an Indian reservation so that they can make it easier for them to try to collect from you by harassing you, breaking the law. But no, you don't need to worry about the payday loan. Okay? Can creditors take an inheritance from your mother? My mother just passed away. Um, well, first off, someone would have to have a judgment against you. Then they'd have to know about the inheritance and know who to serve a writ of garnishment on. So the likelihood of that happening is so close to zero, it's hard to explain. It's hard to, no, it shouldn't be an issue. Now, could it technically be garnished? Sure. Yeah. But is it going to happen? It's too unlikely. How are they going to know? They can't know. And then if you got the money from your mom's inheritance, and then there's also state laws too, but if you got the money, then there's places you can put the money to protect it. So I wouldn't really worry about losing an inheritance. Now, sometimes there is a thing you can disclaim inheritance. Like, let's say you have really serious problems. You can, and you're supposed to get an inheritance from a will. You can disclaim that. You don't have to receive property from an inheritance. Let's say an uncle is going to give you a piece of property on which his service station was situated. It's been closed down, and maybe the property is worth $100,000. The only problem is there's oil contamination in the land, and if you get the property, then you're going to be subject to that any laws in that state to clean up that oil contamination. So in those cases, you might want to disclaim the inheritance. Say, I don't want this property. Go to somewhere else. So you can disclaim an inheritance. You don't have to necessarily receive it. But Joni, I don't think you have to worry about that with your mom. Kat says, I'm your client. Chase Bank looked at my credit cards. You had sent letters. I'm not paying. They reduced my credit line, but I'm keeping. Do I call the other cards to close? Well, okay. When people enroll in helps, one of the things we ask them, do you have a credit card with a small balance or nothing is owed that you still want to keep? And if the answer is yes, we'll say, you can keep that credit card as long as it's not affiliated with a bank with whom you have another credit card you're not going to pay. So in almost every case, if you have a credit card you're not going to pay with a certain bank, then if you have another credit card that's backed by the same bank, the bank's going to cut off all the credit cards. An example, I talked to someone this morning. They had a bunch of credit cards that were backed by Synchrony Bank. They bank a lot of department stores, and they wanted to keep one or two, but the problem was they had multiple Synchrony Bank credit cards. I said, if you don't pay these other ones, they're going to cut off that one as well. So it would be uncommon for Chase to let you keep a credit card on one credit card if you had other credit cards that you weren't going to pay. They'd shut them all off. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's what I normally see. Ken says, my bank said the court doesn't know what money is going into your bank account and the bank will honor the court. Then you talk to someone in your bank that doesn't know what they're talking about. They should stick to their job and not what they're talking to you about. I've yet to meet a bank manager that understands the rule. Okay. So I don't want to call the guy an idiot that he doesn't know what he's talking about. If it's the okay. And like I said, I've never met a bank manager yet that knows this rule. But there's a department in the bank, Ken, that deals with garnishments. This rule's been effective since 2012, and the banks, they all know it by now. For the first few years, we had a problem with the banks. We had to educate the banks, and we had a problem for longer with the credit unions. And we got them educated about this rule, and they're all pretty good about it. There's not a problem. If someone sues you and got a judgment, and then they filed a writ of garnishment on your bank account, there's a department in your bank that examines your account, and they know that to look at where your money came from. And if some of the money came from a federal source like Social Security, they know that times two and protect that sum, regardless of what money's in there came or where they actually came from. So, and you can look that up on the internet. And there's articles on it now. Okay. But I would say, I don't know, the vast majority of attorneys don't know about that rule. And I've yet to meet a bank manager that understands the rule, but he doesn't deal with the garnishment. There's a department of the bank that deals with garnishments. They understand the rule. Kat says, is it better to call and close all the accounts that you sent cease and desist letters? I have 2 Chase cards I'm keeping. You don't need to do that. I mean, if you call them and they close them, just stop making the payment. We usually tell people you don't need to make a phone call to close it. It's just kind of a waste. They're gonna shut you off anyway when you don't pay it. Can I call one by one of the cards that I'm not paying? I'm worried about ones that I'm keeping. I don't understand the question. Yeah, if you've got a credit card and it's not backed, and you don't have another credit card backed by the same bank, you should keep that credit card. Okay. The only way you wouldn't keep it is if you had a credit card backed by one bank and you had another credit card with another bank that you're not going to pay. Then it would be expected that that bank is going to close both credit cards. Okay. And you can always call and we go over this with you guys. This guy calls us from Georgia. Says, I have a lot of credit card debt, but I also have a house that is paid for. I'm worried about them taking my home. I also only receive Social Security in a small pension. Social Security pension is about $2,100 a month. It's not the practice of consumer judgment creditors, such as a credit card, to ever go after a person's home, even if you have equity in the home over and above the exemption for the state where you live. Okay? And that would include Georgia. So you know they're not going to take your home. If they were ever do anything, there's things that can be done, but we don't even need to talk about that because it just doesn't happen. Okay? Person asks, I'm being sued by Key Bank on a Sam's account. Do I need to respond to this? And if so, how should I respond? Well, you can respond if you don't owe the money, but if you do owe the money, don't need to respond. I mean, they're gonna, even if you did respond, you go to court, you're gonna lose because you owe the money. Just embarrass yourself. Uh, um, but if you get Social Security or pension, disability, or VA benefits, that's protected income. They get a judgment, they can't take it from you. You're going to be okay. Person contacts us from Florida and they say, I'm on Social Security disability. I'm struggling to pay my bills. I have a couple of personal loans and credit cards. My bills are more than my income. Can you help me? Yes, we can help you. That's what we're here for. You're on Social Security. It's protected. Um, you don't need to pay the debt, the personal loans or the credit cards. Um, the advantage to enrolling in helps is that you give us the persons you owe money to. We're going to send them what's called a cease and desist letter telling them that we represent you for purposes of communication. Under the law, they're going to stop calling you or send you demand letters anymore. And if they turn it over to a different debt collector down the road, then you're going to give us that new debt collector. 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, we're going to send a cease and desist letter out to that new debt collector so they don't bother you. If you're worried or scared ever, you have a question, you're going to call us. We're going to talk to you. If you got sued, you're going to give us a copy of the lawsuit for 3 or 4 pages. We're going to send a letter to the attorney who sued you, letting them know that your income is protected, so you don't need to worry. Okay? We represent you ongoing. That's what we do. We represent you. So this person contacted us. They had an RV that they're surrendering, and apparently they want to move out of the country, which is fine. Okay, if you have an RV or a car and you're current on the payment and you want it to go back, it's best to wait till you're behind, and then they call you when you're behind. And then if you don't want it, then at that point you tell the person at the lender you don't want the car, you don't want the RV, and come pick it up. Now, if you're still using the car, you can still use it till they pick it up. You just want to keep your personal property out of there, because if they repossess it, I wouldn't want the repossession guy to steal your purse or steal any personal property in there. You'd want to keep it insured, because if you're driving a car or an RV and it's uninsured, then yeah, you could get your license could be affected. But if it's just parked there in your driveway or somewhere, and you could cancel the insurance then, just don't drive it on the road. Sometimes that makes them pick it up faster when they get a cancellation notice from the insurance company. Richard says, and yeah, I've been asked this before, Richard, but Richard says it would be spitting themselves when a bank closes both card accounts you have if the second card is maxed out, but you still pay on it timely, which is in essence is all interest going to the bank. I agree with you 100%, but they still do it. They don't. Sometimes they don't think about things. They just have a procedure. If they say, "Oh, this guy isn't paying this debt, therefore we've got to cut him off on any other debt." There's no one personally monitoring your account to lower it so that you can't use the car and let you keep paying them. They just stop it. That's been my experience. But you're not the first one who's asked that question, Richard. That's for sure. And so that it's just that's just the way they do things. They just stop it. Okay. This person's from Colorado. Uh, I'm a senior citizen with credit card debt of around 10,000. 69 years old with a kidney transplant. It's hard to get a job due to my age and my physical limitations. I would like to know if you'd be able to help me. Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah, if you hear me and this sounds like the problems you're having, you can always call us. The number's below, 855-435-7787. And we have paralegals and attorneys online. They're going to talk to you. And some people call us 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We save the information. If you decide to enroll, we can enroll you right over the phone. We don't turn anyone away that needs our help. Okay? The cost is minimal. Maybe 1 out of 6 or 7 of our clients get, or more than that, get our help for free. Okay? So the cost is absolutely minimal. And then when you enroll, you're going to give us the creditors you owe money to. We're going to send them a cease and desist letter, and you're not going to be hounded by these creditors bothering you anymore. Okay? Person contacts us from Texas. He says, I'm 67 years old and my only debt is credit card debt. My only income, his credit score is up there, depending on which company is keeping score. I haven't missed any payments in about 20 years. Each month it's becoming more and more difficult to pay the minimum payments and have anything left to pay essentials. I have come to realize no one is interested in hiring seniors, no matter how impressive their resume is. My only income is my monthly Social Security payments. I may have to stop paying the credit cards if the prices continue going up. Yeah. So sometimes I'll talk to people and I'll compare it to, like, you're digging a hole and digging it deeper. So he's got this credit card debt he owes, okay, and he's paying it off each month, but he's just paying the minimum payments and doesn't have hardly any money to live on. And so over time, he'll get to the point where he can't even make the minimum payments. Okay, you're trying to throw the dirt out of the hole and you can't. You finally realize you can't. You can stop sooner if you realize that it isn't going to work. You're never going to be able to pay this debt off. You could stop paying the credit card debt. And if you don't want to be hounded by the creditors, contact helps. Now, your credit's going to be affected, okay? But that's not the end of the world. If this guy has a credit card that's free and clear, not backed by another bank, he should be able to keep that credit card. The other thing, too, is we have a program, 7 Steps to a 720 Credit Score, where our clients can enroll with 720 credit score to get their credit back. It's free. You can get your credit back without having to pay your debt. Your credit is based on your recent credit history. So after your old credit gets to be a year and a half, 2 years old, and you start rebuilding credit, you can get your credit back within 2 years up to a 700 credit score. Okay. We have videos that talk about that on our YouTube page. And we can send you a video too. And after you've been a member of Helps for 90 days, we send you a link so you can enroll in that program, which is free. Doesn't cost you anything. Okay. Okay, here's a question I get all the time, partly my fault, but it's just circumstances. It says, what is considered an old debt? Well, it can be a minute old and it's still an old debt. Okay, these laws I talk about that protect your income, it doesn't matter how old the debt is that you have. Okay, it could be something you incurred last month or last week or yesterday. It's your income is protected, period, from the debt. Okay. And I guess the reason we use old debt is just a term. Okay. This person contacts us and they say, I've been behind. My VA checks changed accounts. I had to change banks, so I've been getting paper checks. Now they keep calling. I think it's Venice LLC, whoever they are. Now they keep calling. Today I said no more. If I don't pay uh, okay, apparently this guy is a client. I put this in here. And he has a new collector that's bothering him, or one that he was trying to pay and then he can't pay it anymore. You know, when you enroll in Helps, one of the things we're going to tell you is if you have your to collectors, how you contact us is you can give us your creditors. All we need is the name, account number, and balance. So we don't need the balance. The name, account number, uh, and the address for the creditor or collector. We don't need the balance. And you can text it to us on the phone. You can fax it to us. You can email it to us, or you can mail it to us. And on occasion, if you're really old and not tech savvy and stuff, we can take it over the phone. But all we need is the name, address, and account number. We don't need the balance. Now, if you're not sure of the address, we do have a master address list because we have tens of thousands of clients. We know where these creditors are located. But it's best to have an address from you directly. Okay. So if you're a member of HELPS, you've been part of HELPS for more than 90 days, call us and we'll send you a link on how to enroll in the 720 credit program. Okay. 7 steps to a 720 credit program. Okay. Person contacts us from Ohio and they say, I'm 73 and starting to have issues with paying my credit card debt. I've seen your YouTube videos and feel that I'm uncollectible. I'm married and my husband wants me to stop paying as I will never pay them off. My biggest fear is that being harassed by them. I saw that you had something to help with that. A form? Well, yeah, we have some. You enroll in HELPS, we send them a cease and desist letter and they leave you alone. Now, you can send a cease and desist letter yourself. And I think we have a form on our website or you can get one. Um, and we tell seniors that, but they don't want to do that for a lot of different reasons. And I can tell you why. Um, Sometimes they have to send out a dozen letters. They don't know who to send it to. Then they're worried about uh, if they get another notice from a new debt collector, what do they do? If they get sued, they don't know what to do. So a lot of seniors just don't want to handle this on their own. And the cost for helps, we try to keep it as low as possible so we can help. And we don't want to turn anyone away that needs our help, that qualifies for help. Hold on a minute here. Person contacts us, another person from Ohio contacts us, and they say, I have a judgment from a payday loan company, Eagle Loans. I can't afford it. I am on Social Security. I am kidney disease. Uh, Now, it's unusual for a payday loan to sue, but if you're on Social Security, if you get sued by payday loan or anyone else, you don't need to worry. They can't take your money. You got to understand, debt collectors, they don't have to tell you your rights. They don't when they call to collect, they don't have to ask you or tell you if you're on your Social Security that they can't collect from you. They don't do that. Their only job is to try to collect from you. The only thing they say is, we're a debt collector and any information you give us will be used for that purpose. But no, this person from Ohio doesn't need to worry about that debt. Okay. So this person contacts us from California. See, our main purpose is to help seniors to stop debt collector harassment. Our second mission is to educate you how to maintain your financial independence. So a lot of seniors will call us on different other issues. Okay, and we don't give legal advice, we give legal information. So this person says, I've lived in the same apartment for 35 years and I've always been a good tenant. Recently, management did bookkeeping and found out January and April rent checks didn't go through. I wasn't aware of this and was told I owe $1,800 back rent and I simply don't have the funds. Okay, so yeah, the checks didn't go through for whatever reason, or you forgot to pay them or whatever. Um, you don't have the money. You spent the money. He says, my loans were denied me because my Social Security pension income is not great enough. You tried to borrow money to pay. I requested a payment plan to pay the debt, but so far no reply. Can someone help me? We can't put money in your pocket. Okay, that's not what we do. Um, but we can tell you where money can't, where money, where you don't have to pay debt, so you'll have that money available to you. So if you call, we'll go over this with you. I don't know what your income is. Now, if you've lived there for 35 years and you owe 1,800 in back rent, uh, and you've been a good tenant up to now, I would hope the landlord is going to cut you some slack to be able to make that back payment up. Person contacts us from Connecticut. Um, I have credit card debt, medical debt, and IRS debt. I'm paying lawyers for the credit card debt and counts for my income tax debt. I'm due in court in about 10 days for a Discover Bank loan. We don't know enough about your situation from this, but if you're on Social Security or retirement account, you don't need to defend yourself on the credit card debt. Don't need an attorney for that. You don't need to go to court if you've been sued. If they get a judgment, they can't collect from you. As far as the IRS tax debt is concerned, if you're modest or lower income, you probably qualify for what's called currently not collectible status and won't have to pay the IRS. So for a lot of reasons, this person may not need an attorney and may not need to worry about this debt. So if you've got questions, be sure and call us. We'll go over your situation. Uh, Dottie says, Eric, is there help most of the day with your number? I talked to someone this morning and they were from the East Coast and I'm Central Time right now. And I told them our phones start getting answered uh, usually by 9 o'clock East Time and probably go off around 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So, and for Pacific Time, it's probably 8 o'clock till 5 o'clock. So, yeah, our phones are always being answered. We've got lots of people answering phones. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Dottie asked, they're going to be a charge off at the end of the month. Do you suggest a cease and desist letter after a charge off? It doesn't matter, Dottie. I tell people if we have 5 people call us, maybe one is being sued, and 3 or 4 out of the 5 are behind and getting harassed by creditors, and 1 out of 5 is completely current on everything. It doesn't matter where you're at. To enroll in helps. You don't have to wait till you're being hounded by creditors and now call helps. You can do it at the beginning, or you don't have to wait till you've been served with a lawsuit to enroll in helps. You can do it at the beginning. A woman from Discover came by to check out my furniture. I introduced her to my furniture. Now we're friends. If this is a joke or not. I don't think Discover comes to check out your furniture. Okay. 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 Person contacts us from Virginia. I'm 61 years old. I'll be 62 in June. So I don't know if I qualify yet as a senior. Well, we've already answered that question today, haven't we? Um, it doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you're getting protected income. We got clients in their 30s that are on Social Security disability. But he goes on, uh, uh, I'm in debt and no longer can pay my bills. I lost my business, and it looks like everything else. I just had some serious medical issues, surgeries. To make a long story short, I have a lot of credit card debt. Much of it is medical and dental, and a personal loan that I took out in desperation about the same time as my surgery. I'm only bringing in $300 to $500 per month in income and have nothing left to sell. I feel I need to declare bankruptcy. Can you help? Or am I too young at 61? Creditors are hounding me, and I would gladly pay them if I had anything, but I don't. It's probably best to text me or send an email, as I can no longer answer the phone to unrecognized numbers. Okay. Uh, he doesn't have any assets. I mean, as far as filing bankruptcy is concerned, probably couldn't afford to file bankruptcy. His income's only $300 to $500 per month. Um, I mean, we could enroll this guy in helps. He's going to be getting Social Security in a few months. Um, he doesn't have anything to worry about. I mean, as far as the debt's concerned. Um, and person contacts us from Kansas, and they say, we have not stopped making our credit card payments. And that's our only debt problem we have, they say. But we're going to have problems in the near future. Excuse me. My husband needs $1,000 to stay alive. Medication. Right now, I'm trying to get all the information I need to stop making our payments. Mostly worried about liens being filed in the house because we have a lot of equity. We'll talk to you about that. It shouldn't be a problem. They're not going to take your home. Right now, I'm only looking for information to get started. Sure. So, yeah, if you've got questions, people call helps, and we ask a series of questions. We're going to ask, you're married, you're single, your age, what state you live in, how'd you find out about us, have you been sued, you're buying a home, you're renting, what do you pay for rent, what's your house payment, how much is the home worth, how much do you owe on it, you're buying a car, you own a car, what do you information about your car, if anyone served legal papers on you, been sued, and then what is your debt total. We're going to ask a series of questions. They're going to read what we do and be able to answer your questions and explain why you're going to be okay and why you don't need to worry. Um, okay. Um, person contacts us from Texas. I'm retired, senior, disabled, 63 years old. I can't care for myself. My spouse takes care of me. We have $1,200 retirement. $1,050 mortgage payment. I need help to find an attorney with my credit card debt. Capital One has filed a lawsuit against me. I'm unable to pay because I'm living in retirement only. Well, yeah, you don't need to worry about the lawsuit. We'll go over this with you. Answer your questions. Send a letter to the attorney who sued you. Let him know that your income's protected. There's got to be some other income in this person's situation, because I don't think they're living off of $50 a month. Person calls from Michigan. After a judgment, I need to know if my state income return can be garnished in the state of Michigan. If so, when does the garnishment expire? And how long does it take? Okay. So I've talked about this before. This doesn't apply to other people, but if you live in the state of Michigan, Michigan has this program where even if you're renting, if you're lower income, you can apply for an income tax refund, property tax refund. And even if you say to yourself, well, I'm not buying any property. The law says if you're renting, some of your rent goes toward property taxes, therefore you're entitled to this refund. And that's great. You can apply for it. But the problem is, you can apply for the refund. But if someone has sued you and gets a judgment, they can file a writ of garnishment against the Michigan State Tax Department, and they can claim that refund. Okay, so the only way to stop getting a refund as a senior refund for this property tax refund that you can get if you're a senior in Michigan is by filing a bankruptcy. And that could make sense sometimes. I mean, if you're a younger senior and they got a judgment for $10,000 and you're entitled to $1,200 a year, it might make sense to file bankruptcy so that you can get rid of the debt and so you can start getting that tax refund. We have emails that explain that. Michigan is the only state where that's done. Years ago, we contacted the Detroit Free Press and asked them to write an article about it. We gave them all the information. And then one year I wrote a letter to all the legislators in Michigan saying, why don't you change that law? You give this nice benefit to people that are seniors that are poor and lower income with one hand, but then you take the other hand, you take it away from them. It'd be real easy to change the law so you protect that money so that it go to the seniors who need it. But they're getting donations from the credit card companies or the lenders that owe this debt so that they can tap in and get this money. So they're putting pressure on the legislators so they don't change the law. Anyway, they may someday. Okay. Person calls us from South Carolina. I was a client for a very little time. And then I met with a bankruptcy attorney today, and I have decided that's not the way I would like to go. And I want to come back to you. Will you let me? And if you don't, I understand. We'll let you come back. Occasionally we have people that withdraw from helps. The problem is, we have to send a letter to the collector saying we no longer represent you. And then for that and other reasons, you may start getting hounded by creditors again. You may get sued down the road. And a lot of times people say, I withdraw from helps. I'm sorry I did that. And they call us and we'll just re-enroll you where you left off. They're not going to charge an extra fee or anything like that. We realize that people might make a mistake and they might change their mind. We're just going to re-enroll you. So it's not a matter of if you won't let me back in, I'll understand. No, we're not like that. We want to help. Okay, and we'll resend the letters out to the collectors, let them know that we represent you. Okay. And why didn't the guy go through bankruptcy? Well, probably when the guy quoted him the fee for the bankruptcy, he realized I can't afford the bankruptcy. I don't. And I remember what Eric said, or what Help said, that I don't need to file bankruptcy. So yeah. So this guy calls us from Arizona. I'm contacting you based on your YouTube videos and requesting help for a family debt that I believe will result in a default judgment, as I have no money to fight the lawsuit. I'm 65 years old on Social Security and have no money in the bank or any assets. I want to inquire about the lawsuit, which is not for child support or alimony, and I believe I will lose if I can afford to fight it in court. I've emailed and I wanted your thoughts, pointing out to my ex-wife that she is wasting her time, even if I lose the case, as I am protected by the federal government, and if she understands that, it might also stop her from proceeding with the suit because it will cost her attorney fees. Please reach out to help me. Let me know your thoughts. Well, we've probably already done that with this guy. It's located back east in the Northeast. Um, you know, if someone's been sued, we send a letter to the attorney that sued our client, let them know our client is on Social Security or pension, is protected. Doesn't mean that the attorney is going to dismiss the lawsuit. Occasionally they do. That's unusual. But if they've already invested in a lawsuit, they're just going to complete it and get the judgment. Now, in this guy's case, uh, uh, they can get a judgment, but they can't collect from him. He doesn't really need to worry about it. So, if we send a letter to his creditors, they're not going to bother him anymore. I mean, they could still complete the lawsuit, but his other creditors wouldn't be bother him. He doesn't need to worry about this particular debt. So, it's been virtually an hour. And I want to thank you for participating. We'll be tomorrow at the same time. If you have any more questions, you can call us toll free, the number below, 855-435-7787. Get on our website and type in a question there if you want. Okay, and do it in writing. You can always call us. We don't want you to worry. Okay? God bless, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.